Well, the first thing probably is that it's a really different thing to think about myself connecting with 150 different people than to think of 150 different people connecting with me. Right? So that's the first thing I think about, and it makes me realize that there are actually two kinds of processes going on, and I only have control over one of them. So the question that I ask is, what can I do that invites students to connect with me? And part of the answer to that, I think, is that I can connect with them. And there are lots of ways of doing that. So for example, when a student asks a question, I can jump to a concept of what the student is asking and answer that, or I can really, really listen. Sometimes when a student asks a question, I don't know for sure what the student wants. Sometimes I have to say, I'm not sure exactly what you're asking. Are you asking this, or are you asking that? And I say back two different things that the question might really be asking. And the student sometimes knows, and sometimes doesn't. Sometimes the student will sit there like this and scratch his head or scratch her head and say, well, I'm not sure. So, I mean, there's all kinds of things that can happen. And one of them is, well, let's everybody think about this now. What could he be asking? What does he really want to know? And what difference would it make? Or I could ask, well, what would you have to know the answer to that question? Or what would knowing the answer to that question tell you about something else? And students can answer that kind of question as long as they trust that it's going to be okay. They had to trust that it was going to be okay in the first place to ask a question, especially when they weren't really clear about it. So that's just a way to invite students to engage with me, because ultimately I guess it's my responsibility that things happen in there, and specifically it's my responsibility that students learn. In my case, biology. They learn how to think about biology. They learn how to make scientific arguments. They learn how to listen. They learn how to imagine things. And all of those domains are domains in which we can connect.